Howdy, 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 howdy. Greetings to all of you out in YouTube land or podcast land or wherever you happen to be. We are King Pilled. I'm Matt, and that very somber looking, sad fellow over there is Cooper. And no, I cannot take a phone call right now. Thank you, though. Appreciate the thought. How you doing, Cooper?
Oh, I am doing. How are you, Matthew?
Well, I am doing. Do you still have the AIDS? You look like you have the AIDS.
I do not have the AIDS.
What
Well,
do
I
you
have a different strand of the AIDS. I have the AIDS that you get when you try to take a nap, and instead of taking a nap every 10 minutes, your children wake you up. And then instead of feeling rested and restored, having your little power nap, you just have a headache.
And you're grumpy.
And I'm grumpy.
Oh, hey. Conservative voter alert. I just got a text message. It says, Matthew, John Kumpel is endorsed and supported by Democrats. Why is John Kumpel relying on Democrat voters to support him in a Republican primary election? Get all the details here. Justin with Texans United for a Conservative Majority PAC. Well, shout out to you, Justin. Good job. I appreciate you. I'm not going to have anything to do with you. Random username with a $2 super chat. He says, shout out to all the new guys in the Discord. Yeah, shout out to all the new guys indeed. We've had some new faces showing up lately. People that I couldn't even begin to recognize, have any idea where they came from. They're not names or faces that I recognize. Well, I guess no faces. I haven't seen anyone's face, but no names that I've recognized. I like this. So we got the new guys coming in.
What was the name of the guy? Kumpel?
Yeah. I'm sure he doesn't pronounce it that way. It's Kuempel. It's probably like Kimple. Simple Kimple. Oh, that's bad too. You don't want to be Simple Kimple. That guy's name is kind of fucked up. He doesn't really have a good out here.
He was kind of doomed from the start.
Yeah, I think I might like legally get my name changed to like, I don't know, Jenkins or something. Just something kind of normal.
Or something cool. Like, what was his first name?
I don't even remember. John? Let's see.
Johnny.
John.
Yeah, Johnny Starship or something like that.
Yeah. Johnny Starship. That's what we need, more meme candidates. You know, we've got like the sweet meteor of death guys or whatever, but we need some guys to run on just like a total meme platform. Because I think you could actually probably do pretty well. You could actually like move things in one way or another way, kind of, just by running on meme platforms.
It's kind of what Vermin Supreme tried to do, and I don't think I really did a whole lot.
Yeah, well, I guess that's true. I guess if you're going to do a meme platform, you have to run on a meme platform, but don't be really like weird and gay about it. Be like amusing and make people want to follow you. Yeah, don't be a communist. Oh man, we got some of the OGs in the chat here. We got 2-Bit Podcast. We got Brody. What's up, Brody? I haven't seen you around in a little while, man. We got Glonk, Jordan Gibb, Dom Alexander. These are just some of the names that you can encounter in the Kingpilled server. Kingpilled.com if you want to join. We would love to have you in there. So Cooper,
yeah,
what did you think of Tucker Carlson's conversation with Joe? Well, first of all, let me lead in with this. I'll give you something. I know that this is something you have thoughts on. I saw some people that said that his conversation with Joe Rogan was a really big disappointment. That they went in with really high expectations, and they found out, it seemed like Tucker was really cool when he was on Fox. He had guys on his staff that were obviously tapped into our circles of Twitter, feeding him stories, and he was really pushing the envelope. And since he's gone out on his own, he's gotten weird. He's just like interviewing weird people and people that maybe don't even necessarily fit the brand, kind of. There was the guy that supposedly had a gay affair with the guy who was like a total crackhead that had a gay affair with Barack Obama. And there was who's some of the other people? He did the thing with Kevin Spacey. He's done some kind of like weird conversations. And they said after watching him on Rogan, they were like, you know what? It turns out, Tucker seemed really cool and all, but when you really sit down and start listening to him talk, he's just a bit of a boomer, and he doesn't really get us. He's not really based enough to be our guy. What do you have to say to that?
To the naysayers.
Yes. The people who claim that Tucker Carlson is not our guy.
I mean, less than a week later, he drops an interview with Alexander Dugin. So,
right.
He's not a boomer.
Yeah. What boomer do you know who's out talking to Alexander Dugin? I wonder if Dugin might be a boomer, but he's not an American. So there's these generations are they're very American centric. I was thinking about that the other day. Like someone who was born in the boomer generation in Zimbabwe or Nepal or
Rhodesia.
I don't know why I'm going down all the like super low IQ countries, but someone who was born in the boomer generation there kind of isn't necessarily going to be a boomer.
Zimbabwe was not a low IQ country for a little while.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, I don't know. When I listened to that interview, so Cooper listened to it first, and I was like, yeah, I need to get around to listening to it. I've had my mind just packed full with real estate stuff lately, so getting me away onto something political was kind of hard. But I sat down and started listening to it, and I'm a 2X guy, so it's like a 3-hour interview, so I got through it in an hour and a half, and man, I thought that I liked Tucker before. Like I just want to be his friend. I just want to hang out with him.
What does his goofy laugh sound like on 2X?
I almost did it. It would have been really loud. I don't even think I can get my voice that high. Because his normal laugh, like when he does his laugh, he doesn't just laugh. He like turns his head up and like goes at the mic like he's going to take a bite out of it. So he'll just be sitting there just kind of talking, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Ah!" And it's like, what the fuck, dude? Where'd that come from? So it just sounds like that, except even faster when it's on 2X. But I don't know, like listening to it, I think it's a really interesting conversation because typically you don't see Tucker being the subject of the interview, and I always think those are kind of interesting when the guy who's normally the interviewer. And you get used to like his interviewer personality. When you get him into a situation where he's being interviewed and he's sharing his thoughts kind of extemporaneously, I always think those kinds of things are interesting because you can get a good insight into the person. And he's really like he's a very thoughtful, sincere person. Like you can't really fake the type of stuff that he was talking about and the angles that he would take on certain questions and everything. Like it's very obvious that he almost had this sort of like nervous energy. Like he was like, oh man, I get to come talk on Joe Rogan, man. I get to like, the guy who's like a bow hunter and he like does all this cool stuff and he's got this cool fucking sauna and everything. And like, I'm just going to hang out and like talk to him. And we're just going to, he sort of seemed like a kid in a candy shop. And Joe is just kind of like just cool sitting there talking, but you pointed out, you told me ahead of time, so I was kind of on the lookout for him, but you said ahead of time that you thought that it was interesting that there was multiple different times in the conversation where he would just kind of drop a little remark or a little throwaway comment or something like that Joe like didn't pick up on or just they didn't follow that little rabbit trail. But when some of the things that he said, it was like, oh man, like this guy. Let's put it this way. I would not be shocked to learn that Tucker Carlson listens to Lord of Spirits or Jonathan Pajot. Yeah, there's some of the stuff that he said is like, I would almost be more impressed if he hasn't, and he's just sort of independently coming to some of these thoughts and realizations. But do you remember any of the little like throwaway comments that he made that kind of caught your ear?
Well, as a brief aside, he suggested that maybe monarchy would be better than our current system.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and this is like at the same time he also does this thing where
He
he's
does this
like,
thing where it's like, no, I would never like that because I'm a liberal. I'm a classical liberal.
yeah, I'm
an
very
American.
boring. I'm just ordinary. I'm just like an ordinary, boring liberal American, you know?
But democracy is fake and gay and monarchy and yeah.
Right. Like what you're seeing, I think the people that are like, oh, he's just a boomer. He's doing the same thing that you pointed this out that like the Vivek does, where he just when he's preaching to his audience, he knows what his audience wants to hear. He knows how to connect with them, and he knows how to say certain things in certain venues where it will ensure a continued productive conversation.
Well, and he did this a lot in the Dugan interview, which wasn't very long, but he frames his questions, I think, really intentionally. He frames his questions in such a way where he can still kind of like, what do you call that? He can leave himself the benefit of the doubt. Where he can be like, no, I'm still just an American, classical liberal, or whatever. But then he gets the guest to say the thing that he wants. He wants them to say. That's the thing that I want my audience to take away from this.
Yes,
that liberalism sucks or whatever.
That's what Chuck Dirk did with Yarvin. He did that same thing where he asked he sort of played foil to him a little bit and asked like leading questions. And then would force Yarvin to stop and clarify. And the things that he was getting him to clarify were like making it even more explicit or even more radical. We got 24 watching on YouTube and 14 likes. Do us a favor and hit the like button, folks. What are you going to say?
Plausible deniability. Thank you, Bill. That's the term I was looking for.
Yeah. And honestly, this is kind of an art. I think it's very fashionable to look down on journalism, and I think for very good reasons. But there still is an art to talking to someone and managing a conversation and ensuring that you take it in a particular direction without being heavy-handed. And he's very good at that. He's very good at playing the straight man. He even has his like face that he makes where he just stares at someone like they're out of their minds. I think Tucker is one of the most interesting people alive, and especially after watching that interview, his thing where he talked about lying. Like he's like you just can't lie. Like we can't have a civilization if it becomes normal and accepted that people just lie. It just doesn't work on any level, personal level, institutional level. We have all these lies that are just baked into the way we do things, and it's just assumed that everyone's lying. And he's like, you just can't function this way. And these are the sorts of more like deeper philosophical musings and stuff and he talks about, he doesn't have a cell phone, or he doesn't use email or anything. He just texts. He's not on social media. He goes out and fishes, and he spends lots of time in nature. He's very much in tune with the toxicity of the current system that we live in, and not just politically, but the way that it's toxifying everything about our lives. You're out of your mind if you don't think that Tucker Carlson is our guy. Random username, another $2 super chat. Thank you, man. He said John Kumpel voted to impeach Paxton. He's a snake. Yeah. Anybody that is an opponent of Ken Paxton is an opponent of mine. When I went to vote, all I did is find the list of people that Ken Paxton told me to vote for, and I just went right down and voted for him. Don't even care. Didn't look up anything about him. Didn't study him. I don't care. That stuff doesn't matter to me. My job is to do what my patrons want me to do. Ken Paxton wants me as my patron, so I am going to be a client of his. The Tucker face. It's never been more over, but we're so back face. He's so memeable. It's fantastic. He's like the most memeable person. He and Alex Jones are like the most memeable people ever, and it just so happens that they're friends. That was another interesting thing that he talked about on Alex Jones being he actually called him a prophet, which this is kind of interesting that someone like Tucker, who runs in the circles that Tucker does, the class, the station that Tucker comes from, I don't think people appreciate just how much heat he takes for publicly affirming Alex Jones. Like this comes at a massive social cost to him. Like it's not like he's suffering. Like the dude's doing fine for himself, but by publicly platforming Alex Jones because he had him on a show and interviewed him, and then talking about him affirmingly and calling him a friend, being willing to do that in public, I think that shows a lot of moral character on his part. And then even going so far as to call him a prophet. Like, yeah, like obviously the guy's kind of a bit of a loon, but this is historically how prophets have been. The person who even like the pagans would have the what's the term where you go to like the oracle?
Yeah.
You have to go to the oracle or the seer, get a message from the gods. Nobody wanted to do that because they were having to go talk to like the weird schizo guy that eats bark and stuff. Like that wasn't a fun trip. Oh man, I got to go talk to Lenny out in the woods. I'm going to show up and hopefully he doesn't try to club me as soon as I get there. I need to try to like pacify him with some starbursts or something and then ask him, try to communicate my message to him and then hope that he communicates it to the gods so I can get my message back from him. Like if you think that we live in insane times, human beings have built civilizations on some really insane shit in the past.
Yeah, it's like that scene from the Old Testament where like the prophet Samuel walks in and everyone just kind of stops and like, oh, the prophet's here. Is everything good, man?
Yeah.
What's going on?
I imagine being the guy that when you show up, everyone's like, oh fuck. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
What's going down? Nobody wants to see you. Nobody wants to talk to you. Nobody wants to see you show up. When you do, it's a bad sign. Speaking of insane things, here's a good little segue for you. So I'm not going to tell the story I was going to tell because it wouldn't be fair. But there's Drew Barrymore has her show called Drew. This is entertainment for boomers. This is like it's I don't know, boomers and maybe like young single millennial moms might be the ones who are at home watching, the ones who are on like public welfare or something, or the ones who are at home watching daytime TV and watching things like Drew Barrymore talking to Kamala Harris.
Why are they so close? Why are they so close?
Right, that's what I was going to say. Watch this clip. Watch their body language. This is a 21-second clip. Watch their body language.
I've been thinking that we really all need a tremendous hug in the world right now.
Yeah.
But in our country,
I can't listen to this.
we need you to be Mamala of the country. I've been thinking that.
Oh, Kamala's like, yeah, please scoot away from me. Please don't touch me. Please. She's even got like the creepiest person in the world creeped out. Oh man, this is so, like the crazy thing here is Drew Barrymore is entirely sincere. This is the world she lives in. This is how she doesn't understand that she is an elaborate theater kid.
Is she retarded? I've always wondered in movies that she's in, like, she's got that kind of like airhead sort of, like I can't do it very well. You know that up talk thing that
Valley Girl
retarded chicks do. Kind of total airhead.
Random username says Drew Barrymore makes Kamala Harris likable. Yeah, very much. Like I sympathize with Kamala sitting there in that. Imagine the white woman sitting in front of you and looking at you very sincerely and saying, "We just all need a big hug in the world. That's what's wrong. We just need a big hug. Can you be our Mamala?" I don't honestly. hat tip to Kamala for keeping her shit together there. Because this is some seriously cringe stuff.
Yeah, Kamala should have been like, "Look, lady, I eat babies." Like, and, like
Do you?
animals and-
Kamala's like, do you understand how I got here? I'm not a mom, bitch.
she doesn't have any children.
Right? Someone the caption on the tweet was Drew Barrymore interviews everybody like they have coke and she doesn't have any money. This is once again, if you are blackpilling, I present to you this. These are our enemies. It's like that meme where the guy's like, God, why do you give me your hardest battles? And God's like, I've literally given you a bunch of retards. You're literally fighting a bunch of retards. These people can barely feed themselves. Like, do you think that Drew Barrymore would know what she was doing if somebody, I don't know, dropped her off in a ferry terminal somewhere and she had to like buy a ferry ticket for herself and then go rent a car? She's never done any of this stuff. These are super sheltered, detached, managed people. They have professional staff that tell them where to be and when to be there and what to say. They live in this world where they sincerely see things like this. These are not exceptional people. The greatest risk to us is not the malevolence of these people, it's the incompetence of these people. The greatest risk is that there are no adults in the room. So the response to this is not like cry for some adults. The response is to become adults, to be the adults in the room. And if you could be the adults in the room, these people naturally fall in line because that's what they do. They just fall in line behind whomever they're told is the adult.
To help trying to take this thing off of here.
It's a Lego intervention.
Oh, this is an important fatherly task, and I'm not being sarcastic.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Was that Deacon?
No, that was Emmy. That's the one that
Emmy.
kept waking me up. That's the one that I want to smother with a pillow.
And look at you. Look how kindly you just helped her. What great character you have, Cooper.
It's not about what we think, it's about what we do.
Well, it is Holy Week, so
Probably
Amy
should suffocate my children on Holy Week. Maybe next week.
Yeah. Take a rain check on that one for now. Logan Daly says our enemies run on the logic of food comes from the grocery store. Right. Yeah. The vegans who are opposed to the idea of killing animals, they just buy their meat from the grocery store. Bill Hicks says, funny how actors act like they're exceptional where more average guys seem to have exceptional intelligence. This is actually really interesting. I was thinking about this the other day because I talked to Cooper on the phone, and he spends a whole bunch of time out in Hickland because that's where he lives. He lives in some godforsaken poor people state, and he's out talking to all these guys that the dudes could barely sign their own name. They're barely literate. But they could describe to you in detail every single step for tearing down an engine and reassembling it.
Oh yeah, my route is just crowded with guys like that. I go to machine shops and stuff like that out in the middle of cornfields, in towns where, there's like 3 houses. One of them's condemned. The other one is like got a meth lab in it, and then they've got a corner store and a bar. Like that's the town. In any case, yeah, some of these guys, literally, I have them sign their name to pick up their material, and they can't. They barely can. But then they can, take apart a tractor, no problem, put it back together. You could drop off just raw material, just drop off literally a block of steel, and they could take it into their shop, do a bunch of magic, and spit out something that you can actually like do something with.
It's
But I don't
wizardry.
know how to write their name. Yeah, it's wizardry.
Yeah, this is. We live in the priest society, the society that's dominated by the priest class. But like the salt of the earth guys, that's America. These guys they don't got the book learning, they don't got them educational smarts, but what they do have is really honest
things. Yeah, fix things, makes things, like build things.
Yes,
real things.
And what these guys need, these are not guys who are equipped to govern a society. It's cruel to ask them to govern themselves. They literally don't want to govern themselves. They want to tend to their lives, be left alone, and ensure that there's infrastructure around them to be able to facilitate them doing their
Hang out
lives.
with their friends at the bar every night and like chief through a carton of cigarettes every other day.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's their life. Watch the game. Grill.
Yes. This is why, hearkening back to the past conversation, this is why I am such a staunch advocate of the wholesomeness of sports ball. Sports ball is a fantastic pastime and occupier for the grill pill guys, the guys who just want to grill. We need the people who just want to grill. We need them. They need patrons.
ASMR. This is the ASMR show.
What you do is you start an ASMR channel with jump scares randomly in the middle of it.
Breaking glass and
just all of a sudden in the middle of there's like this soft whispering, and then you're just like ah!
Chewing on Pringles.
Grill pills need a feast, not just fasting. Yeah, these guys need patrons. These guys need people who are willing to step up and advocate for them and provide for them and look out for their interests and represent their interests. And where's it going to come from? Who's going to fill this need? Who's going to fill this demand? It's going to go to someone. We were talking in the King Pill Discord earlier today about like the idea of the collapse of the American empire. And one of the people in there, he can identify himself if he wants, but one of the people in there was saying that, he's just hoping for the balkanization of America. And a couple of us, me and at least one other guy, we're like, that's not going to happen. There's not going to be a balkanization of America. The American empire as an apparatus, as a tool, as something to be used is way, way, way too valuable to a vast assortment of interests. There's no way that crown is just going to remain in the gutter. When a country, I think the desire to see the empire collapse into states is just a scaled up version of the desire to see the state collapse into individuals. It's the same thing. It's not something you can control, first of all, and the arc of history is against it. Empires don't collapse into broken up assortments. Empires collapse into other empires. Some new empire comes in and scoops up the remainders or builds around it and effectively makes those scraps into a single entity by response to the existence of the empire. So the American empire isn't going anywhere. What the American empire looks like, the way that it functions, the way it governs, that's what's up for debate. It's not going to go anywhere. We're entering the age of the American empire. It's only just begun. The American empire has really only you could really only make a credible case for America existing as an empire, as a global empire, since like 1945, really. It's really just the post-World War II era. This is like a single human lifespan. The American empire is just getting started. What we're witnessing, I think, is like the absolute death throes of the British Empire. The British Empire is collapsing into the American Empire, and the American Empire is going to be built upon the original foundation of the British Empire, but it's going to grow and manifest and spread and exist differently. So the question for us is, what role are we going to play in that? How are we going to be represented within it? What influence can we or can we not have over it? I think you have to change the terms of the conversation to make sure that you're having the right conversation. And that's where, that's where this comes in. QWERTY ZZ7 says, don't patronize them, be a patron to them. Yeah. Yeah, they've been patronized to. This is the thing. Everyone's well aware of how hypocritical and predatory the GOP is. Like, at this point, everyone knows it. These people, the rank and file Americans who keep throwing their lot in with the charlatans of the GOP, they're victims of the GOP. They've been preyed upon and taken advantage of and sold to. They've been sold a bill of goods that hasn't been delivered to them. Now, Cyprian likes to say you can't con an honest man, and sure, there may be something to that. But that doesn't change the fact of the reality of this predatory relationship. So these people need someone to advocate for them. They need people who are putting themselves into positions of power so that they can serve as patrons to them. What?
You can con an honest man through a bunch of like legal magic.
Yeah, I think he mostly uses it as a rhetorical tool. I think obviously there are ways that an honest person can be sincerely conned, but what he's trying to draw out with it is the idea that if you get yourself conned, that's because you thought you were going to get something for nothing.
Yeah.
And you never get something for nothing. So if someone's offering you something for nothing or something for less than what it should be worth, then there's a good chance that you're being conned. Con man just means confidence man. They gain people's trust. Right. Right. So if somebody has put their trust in someone and that someone betrayed them, the person who was betrayed ought to be recognized and treated as a victim. Not a victim in the gay, like, progressive sense, but like someone who's been defrauded. If they've been defrauded, they need to be made right. And who's going to make them right? If there's nobody to force their aggressor
The
to
free
make
market.
them right, then someone's going to have to do it.
The free market.
Uh-huh.
The nap.
I saw... Oh, let me see if I can pull this up. It was a...
Bitcoin fixes this.
Oh, that's true. Why didn't I think of that? I think we're probably gonna trigger someone for one reason or another. Oh no, actually I put it in this other... Okay, yeah. I saw this tweet. It said, cocaine was a stimulant used by a priestly caste of the Middle Period United States called businessmen in order to commune with the market. The market as a spiritual entity. Okay, so there's a couple of articles I wanted to dig into here, but first of all, there's this video that came out late last night, and now it's another Bukele story. And there's the video here it's him speaking in Spanish with the captions. So I'm just going to read the captions for the sake of anybody who's not watching the video. If you're not watching the video, you should join us when we go live. And otherwise, you should subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're watching this right now on YouTube, please do us a favor and hit the like button. We're up to 41 viewers and only 25 likes. So we need 16 of you to get your act together. And then we're also on all the podcatchers, so you can get us there if you prefer to consume in podcast form. So the caption on the tweet here says, remarkable video from El Salvador. Nayib Bukele gathers every single official in the executive branch of his government and then announces a surprise. He asks the attorney general to investigate all of them for bribery. So here's the video. He says, in fact, you can see that everyone here is from the executive branch. From the executive branch that I oversee, except for one person, the Attorney General. He's not part of the executive branch, but he's here for a simple reason. I want to ask him publicly to investigate everyone sitting here, retroactively and into the future. I imagine that there should be no problem with that. Someone once asked me, are you afraid of death? I said, of course, nobody wants to die. I don't want to die. But I know that I'll die someday like anyone else. Death is the one thing we can't escape. 100 years from now, none of us here will still be alive. None of us. Nobody sitting here. It's very likely that nobody here knows their grandfather's father's name. But if there's one thing I fear, it's leaving a bad legacy. Leaving a bad legacy. This is civilizational building shit. He's not thinking short term like, oh, I might die. He's concerned about the legacy that he's going to leave. He says there are some presidents, some in prison, and some on the run. But the most are remembered as criminals. That's not how I want to be remembered. So I don't steal because I don't want to be remembered as a criminal or as corrupt. But for one president, President Duarte, people back then used to say, the president isn't a thief, but he surrounded himself with thieves. There was a time when he offered hope for the Salvadoran people. But even if it's true he didn't steal, then he was foolish because he was the people's hope. He didn't touch a cent and still stained his legacy by surrounding himself with thieves. That won't happen to me. I won't be the president that didn't steal but was surrounded by criminals. I want to be remembered as the president who didn't steal and didn't let anyone else steal either. And the one who put whoever stole in prison. There are a couple who are already there. Yes, Logan, this is the one that eradicated organized crime. I don't, like, I mean, obviously, I see this and I think, I really hope he stays alive. But the reality that he is proceeding with these sorts of things in this sort of way tells me that he has some extremely powerful benefactors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because there's no way he's just doing this on his own. He's got benefactors who are powerful enough that they can protect him from the United States government, from NATO, from the UN, from the World Economic Forum, from all the arrayed interests of the regime, at least at this point. They're able to protect him from that, and he feels that he's protected enough to be able to actually undertake these sorts of things. I think this is a gigantic white pill. The fact that this is able to proceed as it has bodes very, very well for the future. He's basically turning El Salvador into something like a combination of Singapore and Silicon Valley. They're doing all the right things that a tiny, impoverished nation with not a lot of natural resources could do to attract capital and to attract the type of people who will build a civilization. And they have a strong, authoritarian, powerful personality spearheading it. It's possible. It's possible to actually affect these types of changes. It just requires resources and the people who are willing to deploy those resources strategically to make sure that this happens. These aren't people who are sitting around complaining about how bad everything is, blackpilling about how terrible things are going to be and how much everyone is going to suffer. There are people that recognize the world's going to go on, man. Time's going to keep marching on. We're all going to live lives. It's just a question of what kind of lives we're going to live and what sort of legacy we're going to leave. These are the types. This is the masculine spirit that can build a civilization. We need a civilization. We can't keep living in this this primal jungle full of a bunch of warring tribes flinging extremely expensive poop at each other. We have to build a civilization, which means we have to believe that it's possible, and we have to begin working toward actually doing that. $50 super chat, man. Thank you, EH, whoever you are. He sends us a $50 super chat, and he says, "Hi, 2-Bit Jason. Love you, man. There is a soft balkanization happening. Just today, I read that a town that is connected to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, has been granted the right to leave. The productive want to go their own way. This will continue." I do agree that you're going to have localized examples of this, but you're not going to see the complete dissolution of the American empire into smaller constituent components. The American empire is still going to be there. It may morph itself. I think I'm on the record. I don't remember if I've said it on the show, but I've said it to a bunch of other people, and I've said it in the Discord, that I think within the next 50 to 100 years, the American empire is going to be stronger, more well-established, and much more clearly identified than it is now. And I believe the seat of power of that empire, cover your ears, random username, the seat of power of that empire, whether or not it's the actual formal capital, is going to be in Texas. I think Texas is where all of the economic and political will within America is going to be relocating and setting up shop between Texas and Florida. That's becoming what I believe is going to be the new seat of the American empire. That was an interesting story, the one in Louisiana. Did you see this story, Cooper?
I did not.
So a town, there was a part, I think it's a part of Baton Rouge, that was essentially able to withdraw, like the white part of town was able to withdraw from the black part of town. It was concerns over property values and crime rates and all that sort of thing, and they wanted to be able to redistrict or something like that and represent themselves. I didn't actually read the story. I just saw the headline. It was very interesting. St. George, Louisiana. Okay. So, couple interesting stories.
A far-right campaign to explode birth rates.
That one in just a second. First of all, I need... Shut up. Okay, pause the ad blocker. Refresh. So, rawstory.com has... I'm not going to read this whole story, but just the headline is good. Rawstory.com. Trump. There is a definite anti-white feeling in the country that can't be allowed.
Oh, shit. White boy summer.
Woo! We are so back, you guys. Former President Donald...
Matt, that's
that
me.
That is you. You're a white boy.
That's me.
I'm
that
the
guy.
bed bug. The bed bug right here on the ad. Is that you?
Uh-huh.
Oh, it's gone. You're gone.
I'm that chick's collarbone.
She's got a really shitty faded tattoo. Sorry, Melissa Laufer.
I'm the shitty faded tattoo.
It's kind of how you've been feeling lately, huh?
Yeah.
Former President Donald Trump thinks that white Americans are facing discrimination that he says can't be allowed. In an interview with Time magazine, the former president was asked about polls showing that his supporters believe that anti-white racism is now a greater problem than prejudice leveled against other minorities. There is a definite anti-white feeling in the country, Trump replied in response, and that can't be allowed either. It's not clear what actions Trump would take to block this anti-white feeling in the country, which is an interesting way to phrase that. Block the anti-white feeling. Although Time notes that Trump advisors say he will rescind all Biden administrative executive orders related to boosting diversity and inclusion. Trump has a long history of deploying racist dog whistles, starting with his failed quest to prove that former President Barack Obama was born in Kenya and was thus not eligible to to be president.
I forgot.
We probably just got ourselves a little badge of honor on this YouTube video, and it got the ads just got demonetized.
That's fine.
That's okay. EH already came in here and paid
we just
for the
got
stream.
a $50 super chat for some reason.
Yeah,
Thanks,
fuck
man.
you, YouTube. They're gonna take a cut of it. In reality, Obama was born in Hawaii, as Trump himself finally acknowledged in 2016. This continued throughout his first presidential campaign when he argued that a judge could not fairly oversee the Trump University fraud case because of his Mexican heritage, and during his presidency when he told 4 Democratic congresswomen of color to go back to their home countries, even though all of them are American citizens. I just wanted to be president just so we could get more of this stuff. Oh no, the page froze. That's the whole story. Like, that was the whole thing. It literally quoted one phrase from him and then provided some regime press framing for it. Look what they've done to my journalists, bro.
Gas them. I mean,
oh, you know what? On that point there, actually, I will
which
show the
one
thing
are
we talked about this morning.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. Let me find it here. Let's hit retweet on this tweet here. Get some more people in here.
Guys, I'm pretty sure I went down the rabbit hole. I've kind of suspected for a long time, and generally went with the dissident right take on a certain
mid-century historical event.
Yeah, involving patches in the shape of star and various camps and things of that sort. I've never really cared enough to go way down the rabbit hole. I started dipping my toe in that the other day, and I'm pretty sure most of that's bullshit.
Uh-huh. Did you see Owen Benjamin's video about the Encyclopedia Britannica?
From 1968, yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's a good one.
Hmm.
Yeah, strange the words that are missing from the 1968 Encyclopedia Britannica, particularly in the H section.
Yeah, the thing that we won't ever shut up about now, and it's all we talk about. That thing.
Yeah. For whatever reason, it just wasn't something anybody was aware of at the time. It's kind of strange.
80 years later, though, we know more about it than.
Oh yeah. It's actually the most important thing imaginable now. I can't believe they didn't know it a full 30 years later. But thank goodness
the Soviets were nice enough to give us a whole bunch of this information.
Yeah, wasn't that great? They just volunteered it for us. They just offered it up.
Our allies, Stalin.
Yeah, right.
The trustworthy Stalin.
Uh-huh. I mean, when I'm thinking trustworthy, I always look for a Stalinist. That's the first person that's on top of my list.
Trustworthy. Joseph Stalin.
So on a related note, here's let me get this video in the right spot.
Yeah, funny how the Soviets were so helpful.
Uh-huh.
With the 3 brackets, as Bill Hicks says.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how do you do the 3 brackets in
I do it like this.
Is that how you do it?
That's how I do it, yeah.
3 brackets in verbal form.
Yeah, the Soviets.
Yeah, the Soviets.
Another $5 from EH. Thank you, man. He says, these things are happening all over. It's not Georgia and Louisiana alone. Things are happening, indeed. So I came across this video, and it says these gender reveals are getting out of hand. This is one that you're just going to have to go watch if you're listening to the audio later. Just go to my Twitter feed and scroll down. You'll see it. I'll retweet it. I'll retweet it so it goes to the top. Okay.
you fucking terrorists! You like that? You like watching your fucking husband and brothers die? That's why you're fucking dead, you disgusting fucking women! How fucking dare you document this? Fuck you! Yeah, I'm gonna come after your fucking family!
Oh, dude, this is tough.
Stick it out. It's almost done.
Last one! Israel is our fucking land!
My God.
Okay, I won't make you guys watch the last 15 seconds of that. One thing that was interesting I caught this time around is...
You can tell they're left wing because none of them are in shape. Look at those dudes.
Yeah, right? Look what's on the big brother here. Look what's on his chest. I don't know if you guys can see that on the screen. He's wearing a cross necklace. I wonder, given the attention to detail in all the props here, I wonder if that was intentional or not. So it took me a few minutes to figure out what was actually happening here. So you've got this like dumpy they them in like knockoff military surplus gear, walking around, big old dump truck, walking around with this military helmet on,
Big fat gunt.
big fat gunt hanging out, and then she's got like a little fanny pack here, or I don't know what it is, little fanny pack here with a big Israel sticker on it, and she's throwing blue powder on these guys. I've learned a long time ago that you know, you don't want to know where theater kids come up with their ideas. That's a deep, dark cavern you don't want to really go spelunking in, the mind of a theater kid. But I don't know how like blue powder, throwing it on them and then like tipping over on the ground and convulsing. I'm not sure exactly what this is supposed to represent. This is like nerve gas or something. I don't know. But I like some of the other details they highlighted here. So you've got the journalist in the blue helmet. You've got all these journalists, these press members who are circling around them. And at first you might think that these are people who are covering this event. They're just covering what's happening, this elaborate performance art piece. But then you find out this is like a flash mob where the people who are covering it are actually part of it. So this woman here, she gets powdered, and then she's got red paint on her hand, and she smears red paint on her face. The red paint is blood, by the way, in case that wasn't clear. And she's got the UN blue helmets. This is some great attention to detail in their whole bit here. And she's got a little red teddy bear. Isn't this just tugging at your heartstrings? Look at them. They've been killed. I want to see what this sign says. From the left, right, something must free Palestine. I don't know what the rest of it says. And then they get the bloody press jackets that they lay over their bodies. So
Why do the lefties care about Palestine? Why?
Because
like oppressor stuff.
Yeah. It's the anti-colonial and Jews are white. That's basically
Oh, okay.
they don't see a distinction between Jews and white people. And
So in their mind, Jews are white, and then the right wingers are like, nah, Jews aren't white.
yeah, I guess that would be one of the points of confrontation. Yeah.
The lefties don't like the Jews because they're white, and the right wingers don't like the Jews because they're not white.
Yes. Right.
What a weird and wacky world we live in.
EH says, Kingpilled, you need to set up an entropy option. I recognize those words, but I don't know what they mean in that particular arrangement. You'll have to clarify what you mean. Thank you, random username. Just gifted a Kingpilled membership, and Bill Hicks, good old Bill Hicks, is the lucky new member of the Kingpilled. Welcome, Bill. So I watched this happen, and I was just, Cooper. How much time have you spent around theater kids?
More than I'd like. I dated a theater chick.
So you understand the psychological profile.
Briefly considered being a theater kid myself, and I'm so glad that didn't happen.
Yeah. I actually hung out with a lot of them in college because there was aspects of some of the stuff that they did and the projects they were working on and everything that were interesting to me. I thought film was interesting, and I enjoyed singing and all that. But I was in college in the late 2010s, the late aughts, early 10s. So it was right when all of this stuff was starting to really take off. But even then, I knew even though I might have common cause with them on certain things, we might have certain common interests. There was something. I was not a theater kid. I was I might go hang out with the theater kids, but there was something different about them. The wiring was just a little funky. So I saw this and I was like these are theater kids.
They're all obsessed with there's this inherent to the theater kid psychology as a sort of inferiority complex, and that's why they're constantly they need attention and validation.
Yes. They're all I think the theater kid phenomenon is probably overwhelmingly millennial, I would suspect.
Yeah. And
so they've had this weird combination of being helicopter parented while also so they're sheltered but also degenerate at the same time. And they're really kind of a newer iteration of the Drew Barrymore thing. That's who their model is. Their model is the people like Drew Barrymore. They live in this false constructed reality where they've been exceptionally sheltered, but they actually think that they're oppressed and victimized, which in a sense I would say they are, because their patrons are patronizing them rather than actually providing for them or taking care of them. So they get this
them as when did the term patronizing come to mean the opposite of what it's supposed to mean?
That is interesting. I wonder if there's a reason for that. If it was if this was sort of an intentional development. Man, we got the memberships flying in here now. We got another one membership from random username, and it went to good buddy Joshua Ham. Welcome to the King Pill, Josh Ham. And then 2-Bit Podcast with 5 memberships. Let's see, we got Brody, Minowan, Glonk Respector, Cable.
Glonk.
Oh man.
Cable.
Why'd you give Cable one? Jason, you've got to repent. And then Gav Navag.
I don't know you, Gav Navag.
Me neither. The lurker has been called up onto the stage. Oh boy, here comes 5 more. Logan Daly. Man, you guys are giving it today. We appreciate it. First Person Q, Winter EC, RIP, CB, and Slowboy Whiteboard. Man. Yeah, too bad. I know it's random. I was just busting your balls anyways. Thank you guys. Welcome to the King Pilled.
Welcome to the King Pilled.
So this was my thought on it. I was sitting here thinking about it, and a thought began to crystallize in my mind. I was thinking, these poor theater kids, they don't They know not what they do. These are not deep, thoughtful, educated, austere individuals. They can hardly be held responsibility for their own actions in the same sense that
anybody
I
who
can-
does this and isn't embarrassed by doing this is somebody who is not culpable for their actions.
Right. I mean, it's in the same sense.
Institutionalize them.
They've been
we lagging?
institutionalized their entire life. I think we were lagging for a second. Yeah.
Okay.
Are you there now?
I am. Are you?
Okay, yeah, there. I hear you.
Cool.
Bill Hicks says patronize and patronize are pronounced differently. Like patronize is to be a patron and patronize is to be condescending. I never thought about that. That actually might be a good point. Patronize and patronize. So if you're patronizing someone, you're being a patron. If you're patronizing someone, you're being an asshole. I'll have to try to remember
you got that backwards.
Let's see. He said patronize is to be a patron. and
See, I've
patronize
always
is to be
said it like,
condescending.
okay, I've always said patronize when I'm referring to being an asshole. Maybe
Okay.
I got it. Bill Hicks, I think you got it backwards, man.
Oh,
Maybe I have
great.
it backwards, but I'd prefer that you have it backwards because I'm right.
Speaking of people who can't be completely held responsible for their own actions, my wife just texted me and said, "Guess who got kicked out of childcare for fighting?"
Oh, joy.
My 3-year-old son is a handful. And yesterday, I may have created this one. Yesterday, I showed him videos. He wants to watch animal videos. So he climbs on my lap. "Daddy, can you watch animal videos?" So I was like, "Yeah, what animal do you want to watch?" So he wanted to watch a gorilla. And I thought for a minute about showing him Alex Jones. "I am a gorilla." But he probably wouldn't care. He wants to see actual gorillas. So I wound up showing him some videos of like silverback gorillas fighting. I probably shouldn't have done that, because then for the rest of the day, every time he saw me, he would get this big, like, wide waddling stance and come sprinting across the floor at me, slapping his chest and saying, Daddy, let's be gorillas. And let's be gorillas fighting. That's what he said. So last night, before I went to bed, we spent like 15 minutes of me just throwing him around the room, beating him up. And like, I got to keep him right on the threshold of bursting into tears because, you know, he's feeling so helpless and overwhelmed. Just make sure that that he recognizes the position that he's in. Recognizes his own fragility. But that's kind of how I see these people. These people are like, you can hardly hold them responsible for their actions. They're hardly people. They need to be cared for. They need to be provided for. They need to be taught how to act. They need to be taught how to behave. Like you've got to have like a controlled environment. You know, you create like you put a playpen up for a baby or something, so the baby can kind of flop around and do whatever they're going to do, but they can't get outside of the playpen and actually hurt themselves. Okay, I'm going to read this tweet that I put together here, but you guys are giving us a lot of money today. I appreciate that. Logan Daly is member for 2 months. He says, "What if I want to patronize and patronize y'all? As long as you do,
tomato.
yeah. As long as you're doing it, we're not going to complain." And then QWERTY ZZ7, $2 Canadian. I appreciate that nickel. Says, "See, now I don't know which one it is. Is it patronize or patronize? Patronize. Patronize Matt for his mistake." As I'm thinking about it, I think it would be, I think if you're being a patron, then it's patronize. Because like the word is in there. It's
The
patronize.
great wizard himself is now a member of the King Guild.
Who's that?
Merlin,
Ooh, Merlin.
obviously.
Oh, welcome, Merlin.
I'll be Percival. Who are you going to be?
I guess I'm Lancelot.
Okay. I'll allow it. No,
Thank you.
you're Percival, because Percival's kind of dumb.
Okay. 2-Bit says listening to Americans try to figure out English is always fun. It's just a hobby for us. Okay, so this was the thoughts I had that were inspired by this thought of these as theater kids. I said, currently workshopping a modest proposal wherein all theater kids are cordially invited to spend the rest of their days living tax-free in an all-expenses-paid, resort-style 15-minute city where they are free to LARP and activism to their heart's content. Eligibility will be granted first to registered Democrats under 40 with greater than $50,000 in student loan debt. It'll be set up as its own sovereign entity, with the all-expenses-paid component being contingent upon their adopting its exclusive citizenship requirements. Why cling to citizenship in a white colonialist America that just re-elected as president federal convict Donald Trump, for heaven's sake, when you can signal your virtue by immigrating to the new fully diversified technocratic socialist workers co-op? Just think of the protest parties you'll be invited to. This is the sales pitch. You know, you don't want to be an American anymore. Remember all these people who said that they were going to go to Canada if Trump was elected? This could be the solution. You give them their 15-minute city, the new fully diversified technocratic socialist workers co-op named Wakanda. Shout out to, what's his name? Salmon Fish. I don't know if he's here today, but shout out Salmon Fish. He said, I think you could roll your idea into the Wakanda project. So what we need to do is we need to create this all expenses paid resort style 15-minute city. What?
Can you go back down to Salmon Fish real quick? What's his name? I want to see his name.
Salmon Fish XXX.
18 to 25-year-old pussy arc.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what to think of this guy.
I love him. I hope he's in here. Like I love it when his comments come through. I don't understand a lot of them, but I love them. So then I said once it clicks for you that the video in the OP is the post-millennial adaptation of an upper-class dinner party in some penthouse somewhere, practiced by those who outwardly eschew displays of wealth and power and yet personally crave nothing more, it should be clear how shallow and easily led these people are. That's what this is. These are the kids who grew up. They've been institutionalized their entire lives from kindergarten, grade school, junior high, high school, college. They've never lived in the real world. The real world that they actually came out into was one that they could only engage with in terms of seeing its hostility to them, drowning in student debt, feeling like the world is coming apart at the seams for honestly pretty good reasons. And the thing they grew up on is watching TV shows and following the lives of celebrities who go have big dinner parties, and they have the elite shindigs where they all get together and they have the meal, the event is catered. They got special drinks and they all dress in their nice gowns and they dance and they do all this stuff. These like elite DC, New York, LA, all these dinner parties. This is what life is like to them. This is what adults do. But this is their version of it. See, now we're not in the time of prosperity and abundance where you can go have fun doing that. No, we need to be dedicated to sacrificing ourselves to the cause. This is the new dinner party. This is the elite dinner party. You all go out and you LARP out what you see happening in the world in the streets. And people get it on camera and they post it on the internet and it goes everywhere. And then you're famous. You delivered a message. You're fighting the power. You're making a dent in the world. You're being the change you want to see in the world. These are children. These are like 35 to 45-year-old children. They just need to be led. They need an adult in the room that puts bumpers on the bowling alley for them. Don't worry about it.
Hey, I bowl with bumpers. What's that supposed to mean?
It means you're retarded.
Am I Percival?
Yes. Okay, let me catch up on these super chats here.
Hey, what's going on with you guys? Why are you doing this?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not complaining, but what's going on? Random username gifted another membership, and Tyler James. Shout out Tyler James. Man, all the homies are getting the memberships today. Maybe that's just because the entire chat is filled with our homies. Then $5 from QWERTY ZZ7, another $5 Canadian. Oh, we've upgraded to a dime. He says, Jackalope, they haven't gotten to the point of preserving ambiguity as an important part of language. Their liberal priors are still strong. Preserving ambiguity as an important part of language. Their liberal priors are still strong.
I immediately understood what he meant, unlike you, because you're not smart. You just gotta accept the mystery that we'll never know. This is the Western impulse of the rational. I don't know, whatever the trads are always decrying, the ortho dorks. You see, you're trying to classify everything. Is it patronize or is it patronize? And you just need to let the mystery exist. It's a both and, Matt.
Ooh.
Colin! By the way, everybody, we got a super chat from Colin. Go check out Colin's podcast, Cursed World Problems. Him and his brother. It's been a banger. Just started doing it.
Is that actually the right Colin? I can't tell.
I think so. I just went to his channel. Is that him without a beard? Let's go see.
It'd be funny if it was another Colin. Either way, look up the Cursed World podcast. This Colin, whether it's that Colin or not.
Oh, yeah, that's him. It's him.
Okay.
Dude, you look so gay without a beard. You look like a hipster.
Good thing you have a beard now, Colin, so you can not look gay. You totally don't look gay with your beard now.
Right.
It says theater kids were usually misfits that accepted each other and tolerated weirdness and degen behavior, grew up to be polycules. Yes. Absolutely. Theater kids were not the cool kids at school. If you went to any school that had theater kids, they were always the weirdos. It's kind of interesting thinking about like the breakdowns of the different cliques and stuff in school and where those people wound up now, how the different social strata that they occupy. Because the theater kids are all this really weird manifestation of elite class shitlib who can barely pay for their own existence. Like they want to lead the life that is now led by all the people who bullied them in school. They want to be that person. And they still view themselves as being the abused, downtrodden underdog. This is the spirit that occupies the most passionate supporters of the regime. They all see themselves as victims, as the underdogs, as the ones who are fighting the power. This makes them very easy to manipulate, very easy to control. It's just a matter of recognizing them that way and then doing the things necessary to put yourself in a position to control them.
Just as an aside, Colin, I was watching Colin's podcast, listening yesterday or the day before, and his brother and his brother and him. What's the right way to say that, Matt? He and his brother.
He and his brother.
And him? In any case,
drop and his brother and see if the sentence still works. There's your grammar tip.
Don't tell me what to do. In any case, they were like riffing, pretending to be John Lennon. And I was crying because I was laughing so hard. Because his brother's just kind of like a copy and paste of him, just a little less gay.
Uh-huh. I need to listen to it. I've got it on my to listen list. So Colin, I am going to listen to it. Okay, another.
And also, Colin mispronouncing Pinocchio had me really laughing really hard. He called it like Pinocchio or something.
What's wrong with you, Colin? Are you retarded? Pinocchio?
No, I think he called it like Pocanelio or something.
Oh man. Okay, so I missed a super chat back here from Jackalope. $4.99. He said, patronize is the same. It has the root word of pater, which would be the Latin word for father. Your dad can give you goodies or scold you. It depends on the situation. I like that. I like that. That was the context, I guess, for the super chat from QWERTY.
Are we gonna get to the article now? The thing that
We are. One more. We've got two more super chats. Logan Daly, $5. He says, if I'm a patron for the spread of the patriarchy, am I a patronizing patriarch or a patriarchal patron? Or am I patronizing?
All right. That's enough, guys. Drop it. It's getting old.
You done pissed off Cooper now, guys.
I hate puns. Puns are so stupid.
I love them.
So
Can't get enough of them. And then, first super chat ever from Jordan Gibb. What's up, buddy? $10. He says, for Bukele. For Bukele, indeed. Okay. Let us... Bryce, the pod is Curse World Problems. It's I don't know if this is Colin or his brother, but he's commenting with his show right now, so you can just click on the link there. Okay, so back to the far right's campaign to explode the population. So this is on Politico, and this is very interesting. I think this is another white pill. So Politico, written by Gabby Del Valle. So you know that this is going to be a great one. The far right's campaign to explode the population.
No.
Behind the scenes at the first Natal conference, where a motley alliance is throwing out the idea of winning converts to their cause and trying to make their own instead. It's interesting if you read this from the perspective of as if the author is kind of like an anthropologist that's going out into the jungle and studying some kind of like tribe of monkeys or something like that, and then reporting back on it. That kind of is the tone that these articles take. So Gabby Del Valle is a reporter whose work focuses on immigration surveillance in the far right. Oh, man. The threat, we are told here this weekend, is existential. Okay. The threat, we are told here this weekend, is existential, biological, epoch-defining. Economies will fail, civilizations will fall, and it will all happen because people aren't having enough babies. Quoting, the entire global financial system, the value of your money, and every asset you might buy with money is defined by leverage, which means its value depends on growth. Kevin Dolan, a 37-year-old father of 6 from Virginia, tells the crowd that has gathered to hear him speak. Now, for those of you who know, the extremely online Twitter right-wingers, Kevin Dolan is our good buddy, Bennett's Phylactery, extra dead JCB on Twitter. We're going to get a lot more mentions of online right-wing Twitter. This might be the most I've ever seen in a single article. We got 63 viewers watching live. We got 35 likes. Come on, guys. Come on. Get it up there. That is what she said. So what he's saying here is the entire global financial system, the value of your money and every asset you might buy with money is defined by leverage or by debt, essentially, which means its value depends on growth. There has to be growth to... If you're doing something on debt, you're pulling from the future because you're anticipating growth in the future to actually be able to fund that debt. So, or to service that debt. So, all of this assumes growth. That's the context of what he's talking about. He says every country in the developed world and most countries in the developing world face long-term population decline at a level that makes growth impossible to maintain, Dolan says, which means we are sitting on the bubble of all bubbles. Despite this grim prognosis, the mood is optimistic. It's early December, a few weeks before Christmas, and the 100-odd people who have flocked to Austin for the first Natal conference are here to come up with solutions. Though relatively small, as conferences go, got to get the little like jab under the belt. It's kind of small. It's a big threat, but it's kind of small. Though relatively small as conferences go, NatalCon has attracted attendees who are almost intensely dedicated to the cause of raising the U.S. birth rate. How are you almost intensely? Like, if you're intensely, then you're intensely. If you're almost intensely, then you're not intensely. This is just terrible writing. They're almost intensely dedicated to the cause of raising the U.S. birth rate. The broader natalist movement has been gaining momentum lately in conservative circles, where anxieties over falling birth rates have converged with fears of rising immigration. and counts Elon Musk, who has nearly a dozen children, and Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban among its proponents. All right, so we're getting the framing here. We got an Orban reference. This is kind of a like a diet Uncle A reference, or Uncle H, as the case may be. Natalism is often about more than raising birth rates, though that is certainly one of its aims. For many in the room, the ultimate goal is a total social overhaul, a culture in which child rearing is paramount. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine a culture that focuses on raising children? Incredible. This is such a fascinating tribe. It's amazing that they operate this way. They actually focus on their offspring, and they're trying to have more and perpetuate themselves as a species. Can you believe this? This is crazy.
Yeah. What species cares about its progeny?
Right. Ryan Isaac says, gosh, took this broad 5 months to write an article. That's what I was thinking too. This is like from December and you're just writing it now. 2-Bit Podcast says, written by a woman who has only ever encountered half-hard erections. Be nice to the theater kids. Nail cons.
They can't help it. It's the SSRIs. Right.
NatalCon's emphasis on childbirth notwithstanding, there are very few women in the cavernous conference room of the Lion Hotel. Sasha's Fest. The mostly male audience includes people of all ages, many of whom are childless themselves. Some of the women in attendance, however, have come to Austin with their children in tow, a visual representation of the desired outcome of this weekend. So isn't this interesting that she emphasizes there are very few women? She says many of the people who are there are childless, but then she says that there are women in attendance who have come with their children. Kind of revealing about the frame of mind that's putting these thoughts together. That you feel the impetus to first emphasize there's very few women there, but then talk about the women who are actually there. As if to emphasize the reason we're all gathered here today, a baby babbles in the background while Dolan delivers his opening remarks.
Aw, isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
Like one of my favorite things is like on Sunday at liturgy, when the priest is giving his homily and you just hear babies yapping.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to try to listen to him speak over the babies yapping. I love that.
Uh-huh. Yeah. In Orthodox churches especially, there just seems, in my experience, to be a much higher threshold for child noise during the service. So in our church, we've got multiple young children, and it's like a dull roar the entire service, barely maintaining the cohesiveness or the not descending into complete and total chaos. Mostly revolving around my son. He's a mover and a shaker, if nothing else.
A man of action.
That's right. Broadly speaking, the people who have paid as much as $1,000 to attend the conference are members of the New Right. I remember when this term I first encountered this term from Michael Malice's book like 5 years ago.
Uh-huh.
It's now become mainstreamed. A conglomeration of people in the populist wing of the conservative movement who believe we need seismic changes to the way we live now, and who often see the past as the best model for the future they'd like to build. Imagine that. Imagine learning from the past. Their ideology, such as it exists, is far from cohesive, and factions of the New Right are frequently in disagreement. So isn't it interesting that from the outside of the New Right is seen as a specific thing, a conglomeration of people in the populist wing of the conservative movement. So the New Right is a defined entity that these people perceive, and the subtext is they obviously perceive them as a threat. However, the New Right themselves are frequently in disagreement with one another. But this weekend, these roughly aligned groups, from the libertarian adjacent tech types to the Heritage Foundation staffers, along with some who likely have no connection with traditionally conservative or far-right causes at all, have found a unifying cause in natalism. At first glance, this conference might look like something new, a case for having kids that is rooted in a critique of the market-driven forces that shape our lives and the shifts that have made our culture less family-oriented. So it might look like something new. It might actually be like a really sincere, honest thing that even a left-wing person could appreciate. You know, the market-driven forces that shape our lives and the shifts that make our culture less family-oriented. Like, you know, that would be kind of a noble, honest critique. As Dolan later tells me in an email, declining birth rates are primarily the fault of, quote, default middle-class life path offered by our educational system and corporate employers, which Dolan says is, quote, in obvious competition with starting a family. These systems, he believes, have created a consumer-driven, hedonistic society that requires its members to be slavishly devoted to their office jobs, often at the expense of starting a family. Yeah.
Can you read this in like the doing the up talk thing?
Oh, I could try. I'll see. But over the course of the conference, the seemingly novel arguments for having children fade and give way to a different set of concerns. Throughout the day, speakers and participants hint at the other aspects of modern life that worry them about future generations in the U.S. and other parts of the West. Divorce, gender integration, wokeness, declining genetic quality. Many of the speakers and attendees see natalism as a way of reversing these changes. I can't do it. It's too weird.
You know, you were nailing it, man.
As the speakers chart their roadmaps for raising birth rates, it becomes evident that for the most dedicated of them, the mission is to build an army of like-minded people, starting with their own children, who will reject a whole host of changes wrought by liberal democracy, and who, perhaps one day, will amount to a population large enough to effect more lasting change. This conference suggests there's a simple way around the problem of majority rule, breeding a new majority, one that looks and sounds just like them.
Is that hard to do? Is it hard to maintain that?
Yeah, it is. I'm going to go back to reading normally. In recent years, various factions of the old and the new right have coalesced around the idea that babies might be the cure for everything that's wrong with society, in the United States and other parts of the developed West. It's not a new argument. Natalists made similar claims in the early 20th century when urbanization drove birth rates down and European immigration kept the U.S. population afloat. Then, too, people attributed the drop in fertility rates to endemic selfishness among young people. Throughout it all, some religious conservative cultures have continued to see raising large broods as a divine mandate. White supremacists, ding, 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 ding. White supremacists, meanwhile, have framed their project as a way of ensuring, quote, a future for white children, as declared by David Lane, a founding member of the white nationalist group, The Order. What exactly does this have to do with the rest of it? Oh.
Never heard of David Lane.
Yeah, me neither.
Probably a psyop.
Yeah. Thank you for doing his advertising for him, Politico reporter.
Yeah.
This is the first time anybody has ever cared what he's talking about. More recently, natalist thinking has emerged among tech types interested in funding and using experimental reproductive technologies, and conservatives concerned about falling fertility rates and what they might mean for the future labor force of the United States and elsewhere in the developed world. The conservative think tanks, the Center for Renewing America and the Heritage Foundation, the latter of which was represented at NatalCon, have proposed policies for a potential second Trump administration that would promote having children and raising them in nuclear families, including limiting access to contraceptives, banning no-fault divorce, and ending policies that subsidize single motherhood. It's funny that single motherhood is put in quotes. The way that these journalists use scare quotes is always amusing. Though Dolan opens the conference by talking about the potential economic consequences of a global birth dearth, I got to give it to her. She put birth dearth in a sentence. I tip of the hat. Though Dolan opens the conference by talking about the potential economic consequences of a global birth dearth, he and the other NatalCon speakers aren't primarily concerned with the utilitarian arguments for raising birth rates. I'm not trying to have grandkids so they can fund Medicare, Dolan says. We're here because we agree that people are beautiful, that life is beautiful, and that it should go on. It's interesting that, like, of all the things that he said, she's highlighting this sort of thought, because, like, the average person who reads this, who's just like maybe smarter than the average bear, they're not just completely just, you know, gaping wide brain that just dumps in regime press propaganda and just recites it. They're going to see something like this and be like, huh, that's a nice thought. Who's this guy? I like this guy's thoughts. So this is, even though you're still getting the like awkwardly shoehorned in white supremacist reference, I'm noticing a trend with these types of articles that they're much less pearl clutchy than they were a few years ago.
Yes.
Oh, apparently David Lane is the guy that came up with the 14 words. Okay, well, I do know who he is. I just didn't know him by name. Dolan, a conservative Mormon and a former Booz Allen Hamilton data scientist, resigned from his job in 2021 after a group of self-proclaimed anti-fascist Mormon activists exposed his anonymous Twitter account, which tied him to the far-right Deseret nationalist movement. Having lost his livelihood and security clearance, Dolan started the Exit Group, a, quote, fraternity of like-minded men, preparing for the supposed collapse of American society, and who, as of recently, have taken on the decline in birth rates as their pet cause. So here's a video for the Natal Conference.
You referenced earlier you don't have any kids.
I do not. That has helped me succeed as well. Some people want kids, some people don't want kids. I think a lot of people have kids before they even think about it. Honestly, the older we get, the more happy and reaffirmed we are with our choice to not have kids.
Low birth rates is a much bigger risk to civilization than global warming.
We don't need to have children. We find that our own happiness is more important, our own mental health is more important.
Our own happiness is more important. Our own mental health.
Yeah, you
is
sound
more
like a
important.
happy person.
Yeah, I'm so happy. I don't have kids because I'm happy.
Why is it that American couples don't want to have kids?
If I had a child, I think a lot of other things would fall short in my life.
An increase.
What?
The production quality is really good.
Yeah, it is. Gone are the days of.
How much of this is AI, you think?
Probably not much, considering it would have had to have been made several months ago, and AI video technology is only now getting better.
Percentage of American couples are not only childless, but do not intend on having children in the future.
They're going to get divorced. She's going to take the kids. She's going to take your money. There is no net benefit.
What we face is...
Just wanted to highlight how much of a bitch that guy sounded like. She's going to take your kids. She's going to take your money. I'm a man.
Seth Rogan is a disgusting human.
This population collapse.
Why don't you want kids? Because they're annoying. It's a lot of responsibility. They cost a lot of money. It's like the list goes on.
That the shrinking population, an unprecedented economic crisis.
Giving up your body, is it worth it?
Could I actually make a happy person? To our future sons and daughters, you transcend politics. You are more than our survival. You are our joy.
The one unalloyed source of joy in your life is your children. And to watch them have grandchildren. Nothing will bring you joy like that will. Nothing comes close.
How do we find you and overcome our fears and doubts? To plant the seeds of trees whose shade we'll never know. Because the future belongs to those who show up. Click on the link above to get your ticket today.
Banger.
Absolute banger.
Let's see. I had my first kid when I was 19, 20.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I was had the shit lib. I was never a shit lib, but I had that in my brain. Oh, I'm not going to have kids. I don't think I really want kids. I just kind of want to, I'm so glad that I accidentally knocked up my now wife and was forced to have kids and grow the fuck up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was interesting. They, a lot of the stuff that they said at the beginning about how kids are expensive, they're loud, they're a pain in the ass, they get in the way. You can't do the same things that you could when you didn't have them. All those things are true. But those aren't reasons to not have kids.
And
those are just realities of having kids.
Whatever the things are that you can't do now that you have kids are not important things.
Yes.
Like what, going to the bar?
Uh-huh. Going and rolling around in the street and like throwing powder at each other.
Right.
Make babies. That was, and if you notice, one of the voices in there, Bill Hicks caught it. That was Tucker.
Yeah.
Talking about how having kids, making large families, having cross-generational relationships is the most important thing that you can do. And tell me that's not our guy. On his podcast, Dolan says he was first alerted to the problem of demographic collapse by a member of the Exit Group, which claims to have 171 members. It only claims to. Dolan came up with the idea for NatalCon after watching The End of Men, Tucker Carlson's documentary about collapsing testosterone levels in the West. The global drop in sperm concentrations has indeed puzzled scientists for decades, maybe because the scientists are a bunch of fucking hacks. And it's believed to be one of the factors that has contributed to the global downturn in birth rates. But NatalCon's organizers and attendees seem more interested in combating social institutions, like corporate employment and the educational system set up to support it, that in Dolan's words have suppressed fertility by being, quote, hostile to life. Most of the first day of the conference is spent defining the problem. In a nutshell, sperm counts are historically low. Our bodies are full of microplastics. Public schools are indoctrinating children against the good Christian values with which they were raised. Dating apps have gamified romance, tricking lonely singles into believing that a better prospect is always around the corner. Women have been convinced that they can have it all, kids and a career and endless vacations and so much more, only to end up unhappy, infertile, and alone. Now, I get the sense that she's kind of trying to lampoon these ideas. She's trying to present them as kind of absurd. And she's literally just writing things that virtually every person who reads this would be like, yeah, that's definitely, yep, that's right. That's definitely the case.
CB says in the chat, imagine trading all that for waiting in line to do online returns. Yeah, no kidding, dude. For real.
That's a good one. Javier Oliva says, the left don't have kids, they have your kids. I know it's been said, but it bears repeating. It's not just enough to have kids. Yes.
That's a good start.
That's good. Yeah. Yeah, in order, like, step one is have your own kids. And then once you have your own kids, then you could worry about the next steps in the process. Catching up on the comments here. Okay. The speakers who lay out this bleak state of affairs are a motley crew of the extremely online right, many of whom go by their X, the website formerly called Twitter, handles rather than their names. There it is again. Via Zoom, anonymous Twitter user Raw Egg Nationalist warns us about endocrine disruptors in everything from perfume to bottled water. Ben Braddock, an editor at the conservative magazine I Am 1776, claims that antidepressants and birth control pills have permanent detrimental effects on women's fertility. He claims that. See, up here, when we talked about scientists, scientists are puzzled about the global drop in sperm concentrations. But Ben Braddock is just claiming this about antidepressants and birth control pills, their effects on women's fertility. It's not like it's like super well documented or anything.
Right.
Together, the speakers paint a dire picture of a society that has lost its way, abandoning fundamental biological truths and dooming itself to annihilation in the process. The solution, of course, is to have more babies. Peachy Keenan, a pseudonymous writer affiliated with the conservative Claremont Institute, urges attendees to seize the means of reproduction, as in to outbreed liberals who are already hobbling their movement by choosing to have just a couple children, or none at all. Keenan says, we can use their visceral hatred of big families to our advantage. The other side is not reproducing. The antinatalists are sterilizing themselves. Here lies the project, spelled out in detail. The people who disagree have bloodlines that are slowly going to die out. To speed up that process, To have this particular strand of conservative natalist ideology become dominant quickly in the United States, everyone in this room has to have more kids and fast. But it's only when the speakers get to who should have the babies and how they should raise them that their deeper concerns and the larger anxieties behind this conference become clear. Oh, okay, everything was great up until this point, but now we're getting to this is why this is a threat. Here it comes.
Reading this is making me want to have more babies. Hey, anybody in the chat, if you just have like 15 grand you want to give me so that we can we got to get a surgery. There's some things we got to do so that I can make more babies. Please hit me up. Got some medical issues we got to get over first, but I would like 10 more.
Cooper needs 10 more babies. Give him some money to make that happen.
Yes, please.
Jordan Gibbs says, I homeschool my 5 boys. Who in the chat can top me? Just curious, Deseret Nationalist. So anybody got doing better than homeschooling 5 boys? Jordan Gibb is a real life Chad.
Yes, he is. That guy's a superhero.
$20 super chat. Man, EH, you are the man today. Assuming you're a man, I guess. He says, I loved my kids. We plan on a 3rd one. My 2 sons are a lot like me. Funny, aggressive, blonde, and big. So, you loved them? What about now? Did they interrupt your nap and get the pillow treatment?
Yeah, like my kids.
Yeah. Okay. The goal, as put by Indian Bronson, the pseudonymous co-founder of the elite matchmaking service Keeper, is more better people. But the speakers lack consensus on the meaning of the word better, as they do on the subject of using technology to encourage the best and brightest among us to breed. See, here's that inner lib where they don't pick up on innuendo properly. Like, well, how do you define that? What's the definition of better? Can you guys agree on a definition of better that you guys all subscribe to? I can't understand it if you don't. Keenan, who has previously...
Go back up. As they do on the subject of using technology to encourage the best and brightest among us to breed. Oh, okay, continue. I thought she was referring to herself as the best and brightest.
Oh. EH says autocorrect sucks. Okay, Keenan, who has previously celebrated her sense that it is now acceptable to say white genocide is real, says better means conservative. Pat Fagan, who's got a very unfortunate name. Pat Fagan, the director of the Marriage and Religion Institute. Like, how do you get
Fat
a dude? That guy's got the best name of all time. He's either a fat pagan or he's Pat Fagan. And he's the director of the Marriage and Religion Institute at the Catholic University of America. How do you possibly get a guy named Fagan who's the director of the Marriage and Religion Institute? He says, good children are the product of stable 2-parent Christian households, away from the corrupting influences of public school and sex ed. Christian couples, he adds, have, quote, the best, most orgasmic sex, citing no research or surveys to support this.
I guarantee that's true.
Uh-huh.
I promise that's true.
Another $2 from EH. He says, love, love, love. To protect these households, we must abolish no-fault divorce, declares Britt Benjamin, a lawyer with waist-length curly red hair. Until relatively recently, Benjamin was married to Patrick Friedman, grandson of economist Milton Friedman, the founder of the Seasteading Institute, a Peter Thiel-backed effort to build new libertarian enclaves at sea. See, they've got to get all their buzzwords in here. You know, you got to get a Peter Thiel reference. Now, I want to say, we've got a apparently based lawyer with waist-length curly red hair who is apparently not married right now. Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
Get after it, fellas. Oh, I'm thinking what you're thinking.
Uh-huh. Lawyer to lawyer. I wonder what about redheads, you know? Is there a particular preference there?
Well, they're typically crazy. That I do know.
Uh-huh. Which, I mean, that seems like that would be the type.
Yeah, yeah.
A few of you in the chat here who probably understand what we're talking about. And to ensure that these children grow up to be adults who understand their proper place in both the family and the larger social order, we need to oust women from the workforce and reinstitute male-only spaces, quote, where women are disadvantaged as a result, shampoo magnate and aspiring warlord Charles Haywood says, prompting cheers from the men in the audience. Oh, I love this guy. I'm looking at the article that they linked to. That's going to make me sign into Business Insider. Meet Charles Haywood, a far-right extremist who got rich off shampoo and wants to be a warlord in post-collapse America. Haywood's final words to the audience elicit raucous applause. Quote, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and its progeny are probably the single most destructive set of laws in American history, and all should be wiped forever, he says before getting off stage. A few women told me afterward they and others disagreed with Haywood. Oh, see, they're not united. They're all divided up. Notably, most of the speakers do not make a case for more immigration to counter the trend of declining birth rates. Immigrants can't solve our population problem, Dolan says, because they'll eventually realize they were brought here to pay into Social Security for old white people. On X, Dolan has used the word replacement to refer to immigration. Some at the conference are interested in the genetics of the children they believe everyone should be having. Evolutionary biologist Diana Fleischman and writer Jonathan Anomaly argue that genetics are destiny. I shouldn't say good quality children, Fleischman says after speaking at length about how people with mental illness are statistically likely to marry other mentally ill people and pass those genes along to their children, suggesting some children are indeed biologically better than others.
Uh-oh.
Razib Khan, a geneticist and science blogger who in 2015 was hired and quickly fired by the New York Times opinion section after Gawker reported on his ties to racist far-right publications. This is that parenthetical statement that Michael Malice talks about, where whenever they introduce a person, if the person's a bad person, then they're gonna throw in some sort of a parenthetical where they pick out a single anecdote from that person's like history and highlight that as the way you should see them. Razib Khan illustrates the problem of current demographic trends in the West compared to other regions by pointing to Ethiopia, which had nearly as many births in 2020 as the entire European continent. This is the future we're already in, says Khan, who is Bangladeshi American. Wait, so is he Bangladeshi American or is he a racist far-right guy? Many of you have young children. They will live to see this world, he said. Over and over throughout the conference, anxieties of the drop in birth rates, the issue that brought the speakers and audience together, gave way to fears that certain populations were outbreeding their betters. Though few speakers explicitly mentioned race, the conference provided an opportunity for those with genuine concerns about population decline to join forces with and perhaps be influenced by those who espouse racist or regressive views. During the second day of the conference, a closed-door phone-off event dedicated to brainstorming ways to reverse the population crisis, VIP ticket holders mingled with Jared Taylor, the publisher of the white supremacist magazine American Renaissance, according to multiple people in attendance who wanted to remain anonymous because having their name linked to the conference would jeopardize their work.
You know what's interesting? Just as an aside, speaking of The New Right by Michael Malice, I remember him because I read that book, and I remember him talking about how he kind of he was inspired by Dante's Inferno. That's how he kind of structured the book.
Mm-hmm.
Where like each one of the right-wing figures he's talking to is getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the climax of his book is Jared Taylor. And I'm like, I could not imagine the most, like, that's like, after being in these circles for I don't know how many years now, I'm like, he's like the most milquetoast among us. Like, I know some real schizos, dude.
Yeah. He's like such a calm, pleasant, polite gentleman. He's just like, And he's not even, how did she characterize him here? Publisher of the white supremacist magazine, American Renaissance. Jared Taylor's actually not even a white supremacist. Have you heard him talk about Japanese culture?
Have you seen his Japanese wife?
Right. Such nuances are too much for the liberal mind. White. Mr. Rogers. Yeah. Jared Taylor has Mr. Rogers' personality.
Yeah, basically.
Sweater vests. The following day, I talked with Malcolm and Simone Collins, the husband and wife founder of pronatalist.org, who went viral in 2023 after the Telegraph dubbed them the elite couple breeding to save mankind. Have you seen these two, the Collinses?
No.
They are characters. They're very interesting people. They're like IDW types, kind of.
Okay.
But this is their whole thing, that they're entrepreneurs and investors and previously served as co-CEOs of a travel agency company. Simone is also currently running for a seat in the Pennsylvania House of Representatives. The Collinses tell me they want to promote a plurality of cultures and protect everyone's right to be weird. Malcolm says they want to make their movement a big tent, and were initially worried about what kinds of people the conference would attract. Are they going to be like no transgender people reading kids' books? Are they going to be racist nut jobs? It's a real concern, he says. The Collinses, parents of 4 children, present themselves as rationalists, techies trying to solve the looming population crisis by any means necessary. Simone was pregnant with the 4th child during the conference. That baby, named Industry Americus Collins, was born in April. Industry Collins.
I don't know. These people are they're starting to strike me as psychopaths.
It's these people up here. That's Malcolm and Simone.
I see.
Yeah, they've got the look.
Yeah.
With their 3rd and 4th children, the Collinses used a pre-implantation genetic test that allowed them to select an embryo with optimum genetic makeup.
Psychopaths.
Yes.
I was not wrong.
But they, too, are far more interested in the cultural implications of declining fertility rates than their fascination with reproductive technologies might lead you to believe. The couple is committed to fighting the urban monoculture that they claim has tricked a generation of young Americans into spending their most fertile years chasing professional achievements and personal fulfillment at the expense of building a family. The monoculture is not an evil thing, Malcolm says over Penang curry and pineapple fried rice at a Thai restaurant the day after the conference's VIP event. But, he continues, it's built on false promises. It promises people if you join us, you can do whatever makes you happy, so long as it doesn't interfere with other people's quality of life. And you can be affirmed for whoever you want to be. In reality, though, they become casualties of an elitist scam. The urban monoculture, Malcolm explains, breeds childlessness and therefore must poach other people's children to survive. It lures them out of small towns and into large cities, encourages them to eschew their religious upbringings in favor of hedonistic secularism, and then leaves them to die alone. Malcolm compares the urban monoculture to the boarding schools the Canadian government forced Native children into, in which Indigenous children were forcibly assimilated into white culture. The U.S. government had similar boarding schools. He says, it doesn't matter if you're trying to convert them to a culture that's closer to mine. What you're doing is wrong. When I tell him the boarding schools were a state program, not a voluntary form of acculturation, Malcolm becomes animated. This is a state project. What's going on in the public schools is a state project. The mechanisms that the urban monoculture uses to deconvert people are primarily a state-funded educational system, he says. In a subsequent email, he describes the urban monoculture as, quote, one of the descendants of European imperialism. The most important and effective way to fight the monoculture, Malcolm later tells me via email, is building, quote, school systems not dedicated to cultural genocide. The goal, though, the Collinses tell me, is not to convert the childless or even to counteract the phenomena that contribute to the unplanned childlessness that has become endemic among millennials. It's to encourage people with a lot of children to have even more. Malcolm says some people matter less than other people in getting fertility rates up. Helping someone who has 4 kids but wants 8 is more important than helping someone who has none but wants 1. Ultimately, this is what unites the Collinses with the more trad wings of the natalist movement, from the nativists to the Christian nationalists, pushing back on social and cultural changes they see as imposed on them by outside forces. To do that, these conference attendees have coalesced around a solution that won't require them to persuade skeptics to join the cause. If everything goes as planned, the competition will go extinct on their own. All the natalists have to do is have enough kids so that in a generation or two, they'll be the ones who inherit the earth. It is interesting that...
Is that the end of the article?
Yep.
Okay, good. I was going to say, this is taking forever, man.
It is interesting that you still
You said this was going to be, we're just like, here's some things we can talk about. We'll just like go for an hour or whatever. And we're going on 2 hours and I got shit to do, man.
Well, we'll let you get out of here. I just wanted to point out that it's interesting you still get the biblical language here at the very end.
Mm-hmm. Can't escape it.
Yep. The Collins fam are very weird, but have a fairly interesting podcast. Yeah, they're very much like in the, I think like the Scott Alexander kind of, Scott Alexander, IDW sort of rationalist, Silicon Valley crew. I mean, to the extent that they want to make the case that they're making, great. But at the same time, also like they're psychopaths. So, alrighty, guys. Well, thank you very much.
They have a bunch of kids.
What's that?
Good. I'm happy they have a bunch of kids.
Yeah, maybe they're gonna have a bunch of little psychopaths.
Yeah, maybe.
Every generation has to have its villains, so we'll deal with that when we get to it. Bill Hicks says 2 hours. It flew by. Well, thank you for joining us, guys. We got to let poor Grumpy Cooper go get something, go do some work or something like that. He's got to pretend that he's needed somewhere.
Yeah. I'm just tired of talking to you people.
We got a total of $113.68 in super chats today, and we got 4 new members. You guys were exceptionally generous. Very much appreciate it. If you'd like to hang out and talk with us more, go join the Kingpill Discord, kingpill.com. Sign up, come join us. We'll have a good time. I might be able to get on a voice chat later this evening. We'll see how the rest of my evening pans out. But I would say most nights there's somebody in there doing a voice chat. So anybody else who wants to, if I can't make it, feel free to hit the @everyone. You should be able to, and you can let everybody else know you're going to be in there.
And as of late, we've been playing a lot of Halo together. So,
yep. I wonder if it's still on if you could still get the entire Master Chief collection for $10.
I think it's still on sale. Go get the whole Master Chief collection for $10. $10. You can come play Halo with us.
Yeah, it looks like it still is. They're advertising the 75% discount. Yep, $10 for the entire Master Chief collection on Steam.
There you go. There you go, man.
All right. Well, I'm going to go find out what my son did that got him kicked out of childcare.
I'm going to the gym.
I probably have an unhappy wife, so wish me luck.
And I'm going to the gym.
Go get strong.
Yes.
All right. We'll see you later, guys. Like the stream, subscribe.